team to come to me to say, I ran into a roadblock. I want you to know, but I've tried these three things. What else could I be doing? That kind of attitude is so, so important in everything we do. And when a brand gives us $1, it is our job to maximize that dollar. And so I think similarly, it's our job to maximize how we show up for every situation that we are put in.
Welcome to Marketing Happy Hour. I'm Cassie, consultant, podcaster, and your host. Every Thursday, you'll hear episodes packed with insights from brand leaders on an array of topics, from crafting effective marketing strategies and hitting career goals to building leadership skills and launching your own business. Inspired by those unfiltered happy hour combos with peers, this show is all about practical, empowering chats to support your professional journey. So grab your favorite drink and let's get to the episode. We are joined today by Lauren Griewski of Chase Media Solutions. This is a part of our possible event series that we have been doing. And we met, again, if you've been listening, there's this trend of meeting people on a yacht. We also met and saw Lauren on a yacht. That's how we got connected with her and just wanted to learn more about her experience. Of course, I'm joined by my series co-host, Allie. Welcome to the show, Allie.
Thank you, Cass. Good to be here. Excited for this conversation.
Me too, but we got to welcome Lauren in. Lauren, welcome to the show to you as well.
Thank you. It's so great to be here. And I'm just envisioning myself on a yacht right now having this conversation, even though I'm in the office. Let's all just imagine a world where we're on a yacht and enjoying the sun and fun.
Please. Or in Cannes. I mean, you just got back from Cannes. So either place, take your pick, and they both sound wonderful.
It's so funny. Everyone asks, like, how was Cannes? Was it like, did you have such a great time? I'm like, yeah, of course we had a great time. We saw our clients and partners and spent time with our team, but also it's work. Like it is 7 up to sundown. You could ask my marketing team and my PR team, and we're literally running on the Pelé and to get to where we need to be. So it's really a great time. And it's also necessary for rest and recovery after as well.
Yes,
for sure.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for doing this so close to after Cannes. Love seeing all of the content and everything there. That could be a whole nother conversation just about the impact of attending. I definitely recommend looking into the next one. But Lauren, again, so grateful to have you here. You have such an awesome experience, and the way that your team is working with brands is super fascinating. We're going to, of course, dive into all of that. But I have to ask you first, what's been in your glass lately?
Well, I am a glass overflowing. Some say glass half full, some say glass half empty. I say glass overflowing, and that we get to live from the overflow. So I would say I always fill my cup with positivity and with ways to invest in myself. That's just the way I think about it is like, if I'm full, then I have more to give. And I would say in terms of what I'm drinking lately is that I start my day with a nice shaken espresso with oat milk from Starbucks. And my favorite cocktail for those of us that are enjoying them in the sun these days is an Aperol Spritz.
Yes.
Ooh,
oh my gosh.
Cassie's favorite.
Okay. 2 for 2. That's my same morning beverage. And then that is my beverage of choice in the evening. So Lauren, we get each other. I love it.
Wow. We're synergizing here already.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for sharing. I would love for you to share with us as well, just how you landed at Chase Media Solutions. Tell us a bit about your journey.
Sure. Well, my journey's always been working with brands and media and marketing. So I'm not a stranger to that. However, I am new to the bank. And so in my experience, I had been doing quite a bit of work for many, many years. I spent many years in the early days of Meta, helping build that platform into the incredible rocket ship that it's been today. And then I was an entrepreneur for a number of years as well, and built my own tech platform. And that really taught me the ins and outs and empathy of the, entrepreneur and the business owner who's looking to grow and scale their business from a technology standpoint. And then I was in the commerce media space and in blockchain technology. So there was a bit of finance when it came to blockchain and digital currencies. But then also as retail media and commerce media was starting to emerge as the next wave of driving commerce and performance marketing, I leaned into that pretty significantly, which led me to come lead the team at Chase, which I have the fortune of doing every day. And I'm really excited about the opportunity that's ahead of us as we look to continue to add value to consumers and brands.
Yeah. And so on that topic, so for listeners that may not know about Chase Media Solutions, can you explain how it works and what the benefits are for merchants and consumers?
Sure, absolutely. Great question. So Chase is the largest consumer bank. It's the largest business bank, and we serve roughly 84 million consumers across our portfolio. That means that we have a holistic view of their spending habits. Typically, they also hold a mortgage or an auto loan with us, or they may have multiple card products with us, so that we have a full view of the consumer. And what that means is that we can be even more personalized in the way that we bring brands and consumers together. So on our platform, we have our owned and operated properties. That's our mobile application, our web properties, our 15,000 ATMs, and our over 4,700 branches all across the US. And that means that we can then reach consumers in all of those platforms, leveraging those insights about their spend habits. And I can share some more specific examples as we go, but at a high level, we'll start with that as an appetizer.
Yeah, that's great. And so you mentioned a little bit about partnerships that you have at Chase Media Solutions. So what are the things that you look for in a good partner?
Well, ultimately, when we think about partnerships today, it really starts and stops with brands. And so our brand and merchant partners come to us to say, I'm looking to reach new customers, to drive new customer acquisition with those that have never purchased with me before. So that's one example. They may come to us and say, look, I have a loyalty program that I want to double down on and reach my most loyal customers. The offer that I'm going to give someone who's a new customer is going to be very different than someone who I'm going to reward for being a loyal customer. And so because we have access to that spend data with a consumer and how they're spending with specific brands, we can tailor those messages to the consumers and how we can invite them to continue to spend with brands in the loyalty perspective, or to even switch to a new brand within a similar category. So one example may be in the quick service restaurant. We may see that, I'm going to use code client names, but we may see that, like Bob's Burgers, for example, which is not a client, but a made up client that I'm referencing, we may see that they shop at Sally's Burgers. And so Bob wants to reach people who are frequent buyers of the burger category, but may not necessarily be buying at Bob's. So we're going to give them a special offer to convert them over and to invite them into a opportunity to shop at Bob's Burgers when they're looking to have dinner. So that's one example of how we may use those customer insights.
I love that. And so from a consumer standpoint, Lauren, I'm a longtime Chase user, both on the business side and personal. Absolutely love it. So if I am going into the app and I see a lot of those different offers from businesses that I'm able to check and use, that's kind of one of the parts that your team is integrating brands. Is that correct?
Yeah. So what you do when you go into your Chase app, Cassie, you and I, well, we're very similar, it sounds like. So we may have very similar offers based on
Right.
who we are as consumers. Like Starbucks might be really excited to reward us for our morning ice shake and espresso every single day. So we may see something similar. Whereas Allie may not drink coffee and she actually may not go to Starbucks. So the offer that she gets, maybe she's a frequent traveler and she's getting an offer from a luggage company that to invite her to purchase more luggage for her next trip. Or we see that actually she just booked a trip. And so we know that she has a high propensity for products that you may take and travel with. And so because we have access to these insights, the idea and the foundational principles that we're built on is to always add value to the consumer. And so we use those insights to inform the offers that a consumer is going to get. And in this case, Allie may say, like, wow, I'm actually really excited. I want to shop with this travel brand because I'm going on a trip. So she'll activate that offer. And once she has that offer activated and she swipes her credit card, or if she uses a digital transaction with her Chase product card or bank account, we can then attribute that conversion back to Allie. So for a marketer, there's relatively low risk because we're only charging them based on that activated transaction, someone that actually redeemed the offer itself. Whereas in a lot of marketing platforms, you're charged based on proxies of what a purchase could be, a click or a view or an impression, whereas we only charge based on the activation and the redemption of the offer.
Love it. Thank you for clarifying that. And I love this hyper personalization for the consumer. I think that's something that just over the years as a strategy, we've seen grow and evolve. And I think it's so incredibly important for marketers to think about ways that they can hyper personalize their strategies. But kind of on that, the retail and commerce media space, of course, is changing every single day. There's new updates there. So, what are some trends or recent updates or strategies that you're kind of leaning into or you're noticing that you're implementing with your team?
Yeah, great question. If we look at a macro level of what retail media is, it traditionally started within the retail walls, where a retailer would take what they know about what a consumer is doing inside of their store or in their online properties. And they would use that data to upsell consumers into more products based on the ones that were already in their cart or that they could see in the past that that consumer was buying. So that's really great insight to what's happening inside of those retailer walls, and it's really valuable. When we take the broader view of the opportunity, we see at Chase the spending, like what's taking place in the life of that consumer beyond what's just happening at that retailer. And so we see the opportunity to really essentially help the entire industry rise, given that we see not only what it is that they're buying inside of retailers, but what subscription purchases that they have that are reoccurring transactions every month, or the types of vacations that they go on and how much they're potentially spending. Are they a family of four, or is it a single individual that lives in an urban area? And so we can take all of that insights just to build upon the parts that I was sharing earlier and use that to inform how we're going to partner with brands so that they deliver the greatest value to the consumer, which ultimately that really is the goal of marketing, is to make sure that we can do that at the most efficient price for the longest term value. Inside of retail media, I think what we're seeing is there's sort of this plateau of like what the opportunity size is, because inside of, like, we've seen this hyper growth, but at some point you have to drive more consumers into the store and make sure that they're interacting with your owned and operated properties in order to grow that. And so there's a future world where I see one of the challenges we have to solve for marketers is that there's so many retail media networks now. And one thing that we're really excited about is to partner with the different retail media networks to help solve, to expand, and to work together and to make the life of a marketer even easier. How we do that, that's the holy grail. So there's a lot more work to be doing and sort of how we solve for that as an industry, but at an industry level, that's one thing that I'm really excited about. Is if we look at the consumer level, we do a lot of research into also what gets a consumer, what motivates them, what creates intent for them to actually shop with a new brand or continue to purchase with brands that they love. We did a recent study and we found in the report that 7 in 10 consumers, so roughly 70% of consumers, choose brands or retailers that are willing to give them a reward or a cashback offer in order to shop with them. And so of that, we've also found that 6 out of 10, so 60%, are actually shopping with new brands when a reward is given. So what we get really excited about at Chase is that we're actually offering that to our brands as a way to invite new consumers and to shop with them and to reward those that are loyal. And so those are some of the trends in the data that we continue to lean into to make sure that our offering that we're bringing to market is actually aligned with the trends and the desires of what the consumer has.
Amazing. And you kind of already tapped into this next question that I have of just differentiation is offering something to the consumer, right? Is there anything else that brands can be doing, just given your experience working with so many different brands and partnering with them? Anything in terms of differentiation that brands can be doing in the competitive retail and commerce space to just stand out?
Yeah. I mean, I think what becomes really, really important is to continue to test and iterate on what's going to be most valuable for your brand, because the consumer now is very open to, as we see the rise of like social commerce and influencers, and the way that like there are multiple ways that consumers are continuing to make decisions and switch around. Like there's not one silver bullet as a marketer that we can say, this is exactly what works. And so what I get really excited about at Chase is because we can look at customer segmentation, because we can take insights about that consumer that informs how they shop, we can also tailor the way that brands work with us. One example that I like to use is if we look at a family of 4, we see that the mom is purchasing pizza for that family typically once a week. But mom never eats the pizza. It's for her kids. What she also shops on is spa visits and her local retail shops that she loves to shop with. And we know where she buys groceries for her family every week. And so we can use that data as a way to then offer specific rewards and incentives via our offers platforms for her to shop with new brands or for her to do things that delight her family, but then also reward her and give her the opportunity to take care of herself also.
I just love that. I think again we're about to pivot back into more of the personalization strategies and things like that. And I think we're just in an era where that type of personalization just reigns supreme. It's what you need to be able to tailor your marketing towards different consumers. And I think one thing I heard at Possible that I've been repeating in a lot of these conversations is marketing has always been about people.
Yeah.
And I think there is something so powerful in that very, very short statement. And so I want to hear a little bit more on the personalization side. So, how are you and your team leveraging personalization in those strategies? And what are, if you can give some examples, like what that would look like?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you bring up a really good point around personalization. And I think when we look at how we segment our customers based on the activity that they're currently engaging in from a, looking at their entire picture standpoint, but also trends that have happened over time. So if we look to see like also the offers that they're redeeming, that also informs types of things that they may have an interest in or be curious about. So for example, we may see that someone, I'll use the Bob Burgers example. We may see that they activated and redeemed an offer with Bob Burgers on day one, but 2 weeks later, they still haven't made another purchase. Whereas shopper B could have gone to Bob's Burgers and they keep going back. So now they've become a quick loyal customer of this QSR. And so we can use that data to inform how we address the targeting, the cost of that use, that cost of that acquisition. So there's so many things as a marketer that because we have access to that transaction data, we can be nimble in the way that we adjust our campaign strategies. And at the core of what it is, I mean, personalization is really taking real-time data and insights and turning those into actionable strategies that marketers can then implement almost in real time. And that's the type of work and that's the type of advantage that Chase has because we have the closed loop attribution at an individual level to be able to do that.
Totally. And I think there's such an advantage to then funnel that information out into the different channels that you work with, right? The different internal and external partners. So there's huge, huge, huge value there. We first got to see you in a fireside chat at Possible, as Cassie mentioned, with Avery from Vayner, who is actually a past Marketing Happy Hour guest. We love Avery. And so I'm curious to hear from you. What was something you learned at Possible that you've implemented now in your day-to-day?
First and foremost, we love Avery too, and we're all very big
She's
fans
so
of
great.
our, partnership with them and with her. They've been great partners, and so we're really excited about that. I think, one thing that I would be remiss if I didn't say during this time is that we have to look at like the future of what shopping looks like. And I think right now, I'm speaking on behalf of industry trends. We see quite a bit taking place in terms of agentic commerce and the way that potentially AI is going to transform the way that consumers shop. And so I will say, like right now, we're very curious as marketers, as industry leaders, as to like what really are the changes in AI that are going to drive real transformation? And what are the ones that we feel like are more hype? And so I think it's really important right now, like to continue to lean into this space, to continue to learn and evaluate all of the strategies that are taking place within that ecosystem. And then ultimately to put at the center of it is like, how do we continue to add value to consumers while also brands are thinking through like, what is the future of their brand strategy? Like, is there a world where like Jake at State Farm actually becomes a robot for another brand? Like not Jake himself, but like the similar celebrity strategy where like there will actually be like AI agents on behalf of brands that are now spokespeople that we've created and we've made up. And I think every industry has to be thinking about this. And so I just use this as examples of like, we're learning a lot, not only on the consumer side, but also in the deep conversations that we're having with brands. It's also really fun to be imaginative and to think about the future and the ways that like we get to embrace this technology instead of being scared of it. So I would say like that's one area that just continues to drive curiosity as we think about the future and the evolution of commerce. And then I would say on the other side, like we are a year and change into our business at Chase. So we launched in April of 2024. And what is really exciting is that within our first year alone, we drove $12 billion in attributed spend, so consumer spend, to Chase offers that actually like was exposed to an offer and then made a purchase That is massive. And so how we harness the power of that in year one and continue to build upon what we've learned is so important. And so a lot of the work we're doing right now is getting in the field, spending time with our brand partners and those that we want to make our brand partners, and learning from them around what's most important, what their challenges are, and then finding ways to harness the power of what we've already built a really strong foundation around to continue to grow and scale our business.
Oh, amazing. And congrats on all of the success over the last year and a half. I think, Allie and I were talking post possible even after you shared everything initially of just this idea too of meeting consumers where they are. They're already using their Chase app every single day for banking. And so inserting these partnerships in that way in a space where they're already consuming is really important. So I think that's a really valuable, just overarching brand and marketing message of just meet consumers where they're at. Like, how can you integrate in their everyday lives and in their routines, right? So I think it was just a great reminder for us then and even now again, hearing you share. So
Yeah. And
yeah.
look, I think there's also to be, perfectly transparent, like there is an opportunity for us to think about how we extend beyond just the traditional platforms that we have. And that's very much, we, recently published an article where we talked about some of the future of our business and the ambitions that we have to deliver value for consumers, whether they're inside of the Chase experience or in other environments as well. And one thing that's so important and that I hold as like one of our most valuable assets is the trust that we have with consumers. And because we are their financial institution, there is such a high level of trust that they have with us as a business. So we're held to the highest standards in terms of regulation. We're turned to the highest standards in terms of compliance that we have around data and privacy. And we as a bank also like hold that with such strong regard in terms of how we work with partners. And so we have very strong ambitions for our business, but trust and the consumer trust is something that we also pass on to brands as beneficiaries of that trust. And so how we look to continue expand and come to market is something that's also incredibly exciting for us and incredibly exciting for consumers and brands, but something that we're moving through very methodically and making strategic decisions that are going to continue to uphold that trust with our consumers and with our brand partners.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. As we close out, I want to infuse a few questions on career as well. We have a lot of listeners who are always asking us, what can I do to stand out and to get hired and to be an asset to a brand? So as a leader yourself, I'm just curious, when you are hiring or developing talent, for example, developing your team, what are some of those skill sets or traits that you're looking for in team members today?
Yeah, great question. Forever, as I've, from my early days of, even in college when I was managing interns and taking on my first management jobs as an intern myself, attitude to me is everything. And so someone who shows up to say, no matter what, I'm committed to the outcomes that I've signed up for and I'm taking responsibility for the results, which means even when they're not great, it's not personal. It's just what we have to be honest with ourselves about. So attitude's important because it allows us to also have transparency around where we are. When there's a mistake that we make, I make mistakes every day. In fact, I've probably made a few today already. And it's okay for us to admit, like, I've made a mistake in this so that we can course correct. And I think having that attitude as someone who's willing to be all hands on deck is so, so important. And someone that's willing to say, I take full responsibility for the results that I create. That allows us to be in a world where everything is possible because we're not victim to circumstance. That doesn't hold us up in the future that we're looking to create. We look for possibility instead of problem. And so that to me has always been just fundamental. And it's something that even I check myself around. I'm like, are you being victim right now to this product challenge that just happened? Or are you being someone who's willing to go figure out how to dissect what we could potentially innovate around because this looks like a roadblock? So it's something I also hold myself to. I will say secondly, is someone who is a self-starter and is willing to like hustle. And I think that it's been so easy for us sometimes to get comfortable and complacent. And someone who comes to me and says, hey, look, I am very excited about this opportunity. I'm not really sure about everything it looks like, but I've built a plan of how I would go after it. And teams who come to me to say, I ran into a roadblock. I want you to know, but I've tried these 3 things. What else could I be doing? Like that kind of attitude is so, so important in everything we do. And when a brand gives us $1, it is our job to maximize that dollar. And so I think similarly, it's our job to maximize how we show up for every situation that we are put in. And so what I mean by that is like, it's my job to go find the right solutions that are going to maximize that result. And I think similarly in the people we hire is it's our job to make sure that they're maximizing their potential, their strengths, their output. The last thing and the third thing is I would just say is like, it's really important for us all, and it goes along with everything I said, is for us all to own our future and own our career. And the opportunities we have now are endless. With an internet, with a mobile device, like you can become an entrepreneur overnight. And so we all have choices. We all have so many unlimited resources at our fingertips. And like, that's incredibly exciting, but it also forces us to be incredibly focused, because we could be doing, it's like, it's so great, but it also sometimes can create like, there's so many options. It's like the paradox of choice. When we go into our closet, I'm like, I have a million things hanging. I have nothing to wear. Similarly, I think that can sometimes happen in business, that if we're not laser focused on what we need to do to achieve the results, that it can sometimes derail us. So I think now I'm just starting to speak in like the principles of business instead of like, people that I look to hire. But in general, I think, it's a really exciting time for us as marketers, as innovators. And it's also, a call for laser focus into how we look to deliver results and delight our partners and brands.
Oh, so good. So good. So I'm curious what you'll say to this last question then. What do you know now, Lauren, that you wish you knew earlier on in your career?
I would say like earlier on in my career, and it goes to something I said before, is like perfection was something that I really wanted to be able to like strive for. And I thought if I make a mistake, I did internalize it. It's hard not to internalize it. And so I have empathy for like all of us in our journey. And still today, sometimes like if I make a mistake, I take a night and like I digest it and I call a mentor and I work myself through it. And I think making mistakes are okay for us to do. And like the better thing is not so much about the mistake we made as much as like what we're learning from it and the forward progression. And so I try not to get stuck anymore in the shame of making a mistake, but more around like, okay, how do we course correct, or how could I learn from this and what could I have done differently, and get into action instead of staying in the sort of the defeat mentality. That's one. I would say the second thing around is, and that I continue to work towards all the time, is my desire to please everyone and my desire to be likable. And I think sometimes, especially for women, and it's not just to center out women, but I think we're taught and trained to like be the nurturer, be the care provider, be someone who like everyone's going to agree with and like don't ruffle feathers. And I will say as a leader, that is nearly impossible. If you are looking to make decisions, there are always trade-offs. And so that's one thing I've had to be comfortable with, is like being firm, but also kind, and being willing to like have some disagreeability within the team. And not every decision is going to please everyone, and that's okay. And so it's still something that I work towards every single day. I had a conversation with someone about it this morning, like very transparently. I wish I could make everyone happy, and I'm doing my best, but unfortunately, there's 3 things I'm trying to prioritize for, and I have to choose one. And so I think just in general, like keeping that top of mind of what some of my own opportunities to grow in, and like how they continue to show up, even though I keep trying to work on them.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that and just being so transparent in what you're currently working on. I know Allie and I would probably both agree that those are areas that we are also working on every single day, and many listeners too. And that's just the reality of, again, being a professional in general, but always having that mindset of improving every single day and knowing where you struggle or knowing what challenges you face, but not being afraid to just continue to work at them and grow. Yeah, it's an important reminder. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Lauren, again, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for sharing just everything about Chase Media Solutions, but also your personal journey and the things that you're thinking about and working on. We would love to, of course, stay in touch with you and learn more about Chase Media Solutions. So please let us know, if you don't mind, where are all of the places online that we can connect with you and Chase Media Solutions?
Absolutely. And I definitely welcome that. I always love to hear from people and brands and consumers. One thing I love about being at Chase is that people love to tell me their Chase story. like, oh my gosh, I've been a Chase customer for so many years. And it's so fun to hear that. So I also love to hear from people. You can follow Chase Media Solutions on LinkedIn. It's Chase Media Solutions. I'm also on LinkedIn. It's Lauren, Griewski. So feel free to follow, DM me, reach out. And then also on Instagram, if you want just like a closer look at what we're doing at Chase, we have a number of different Chase handles on Instagram and on a number of other social platforms. And then I'm also on the other social platforms as well. So whatever your preference is, I'd be happy to hear from anyone out there who wants to learn more about Chase, or also anyone that's leaning in and curious about how they can grow in their career. Or if you have advice for me on how I can grow in my career, I'm open to that too. So thank you so much. It's been so fun to spend some time with you both today.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. And we'll have all those channels linked below. So please reach out to Lauren, learn more about what they're doing at Chase Media Solutions. And yeah, just really appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode. If you enjoyed this conversation, I would love your feedback. And if you're ready to take things to the next level, sign up for my weekly newsletter in the show notes. You'll get weekly career and marketing insights straight to your inbox. And if you have an idea for a future Marketing Happy Hour episode, shoot me an email, hello@marketinghappyhr.com. Thank you again, and I'll see you next Thursday.